responds, the laptop for him to review the discovery at the MDC. The idea is to preload the information he's allowed to have at the MDC on the laptop. There is a protective order. Interesting they're talking about this because one of the arguments put forward by Sean Combs' defense team is he doesn't have the adequate resources at the MDC to properly prepare for what is a complicated sex trafficking and racketeering trial. What is this exchange about, you think?
Right. I think they're probably pointing to an issue with privacy. And like you said, him being able to.
Well, we got a Diddy bail hearing right now. The judge is actually going to listen to it. We know that his cell was raided earlier this week, and they said that they took some documents, and one of the judges said, hey, you can't use that. But what we're going to see today is if he can get a bail and if he's coming home temporarily till the trial starts. We're going to see, but of course, this is a federal case, so there aren't any cameras on the inside, but Law and Crime has someone on the inside relaying the information. So we're just sitting here waiting to figure out, we got some free time on this Friday before we're over on my main channel. So I said, why not? Let's do a double live this evening. So we'll just be listening to it, and any news that pops up, we'll be following along with it. But as of right now, he has a bail hearing.
Decide this issue, right?
Yes. So when you appeal, that really removes jurisdiction of the ability of the trial court to make a decision. So obviously the case was transferred to Judge Subramanian, but they'd appealed to the Second Circuit, which is the highest court before that appeal. But now what they want is another bite at the apple, see if the judge is going to disagree with the prior magistrate judge and district judge and actually release Combs on bail, which would be very surprising, in my opinion, before they take it up on appeal.
Elizabeth, I'll turn to you on that. Again, the reason we know some of what the defense's arguments are is because I read the brief to the Second Circuit. They asked to put it on, they called it, oh my gosh, I'm forgetting the legal term, abeyance. They put the appeal on abeyance and said, pause it. We're going to go to Judge Subramanian. If he actually grants bail, this is all moot, forget it. But, do you think the Second Circuit would be more amenable to his arguments?
I think it would be a bit more difficult. Obviously, whenever you appeal a case, the appellate judge is really more prone to being guided by former precedent. It doesn't mean that judges don't overturn decisions. They do all the time, but they are more privy to be bound to prior decisions. Here in this instance, this is his third attempt before the hearing today to be released on.
I know Diddy was saying, well, he wasn't saying it, but his lawyer put out a statement saying that the video footage of him and Cassie, they saying that it was edited, chopped up to make him look bad. I mean, how much worse could that video have been? I mean, we know it could have been worse, but what did they chop up? Everything you did in there, you were running, first of all, running down the hall with just a towel on, holding it up with one hand. That's already crazy. But everything you did to Cassie, there's no way that they could edit that video from it looking like it was a good video, you running down the hallway with just a towel on, to throwing a vase at her, kicking her and dragging her. There's no way you could edit that it would have been looking good to looking bad. You know what I mean? What up, Torian? So I don't know, man. We're gonna see what the judge got to say. I don't think he's going to get a bail. But what they're trying to do is see, why did the CEO of Abercrombie and Finch get a bail, but Diddy getting? And what they're saying is the prosecutors are going to say Diddy was actually trying to reach out to witnesses, to victims, and try to get them to do different things as opposed to what Abercrombie and Finch was doing, where it was promising them deals and stuff and then messing with them. All of it's disgusting, but we'll see where it goes. I don't think he's going to get a bail.
Alter and change their testimony, and his bond was revoked.
Oh, and real quick, yeah, they said there's 2 U.S. Marshals in there. Usually they stand behind the defendant, but they said they're standing on the sides of Diddy, and they're just sitting there. But he isn't shackled up or anything. Of course, there's no jury there yet. This is just a bail hearing.
So hopefully they do so. But I don't think you need a full-blown evidentiary hearing in a case like this, or any bond hearing.
Elizabeth, you would agree with me that there was no reality where Sean Combs believed he was not going to make bail. The reason he was so cooperative with law enforcement, he'd surrendered his passport, said he was going to sell his plane, came to New York to be arrested, hadn't left the country, right? Even though he knew he was going to be arrested. It seemed to me he thought he was legitimately going to make bail, that he would be on house arrest for a year, 2 years till trial happened. I don't think he thought that this would actually be a reality, right?
I agree. And my theory is that all of these steps were taken to by his attorneys and by his legal team to hopefully assure that they can show the judge, he's not a flight risk. He's put up this $50 million bond. He's prepared to put his home up for collateral. All of these steps he surrendered to his arrest. So all of these steps to put forward to try to argue this is not someone who's going to flee. He can be trusted with home arrest. So I don't think he anticipated this.
Going to that, Elizabeth, we just have another update from court. Again, we're providing live updates about what is happening in
Got live
that
updates,
courtroom,
guys.
considering there are no cameras there. Trust me, I could go on and on about how much of a mistake I think that is. But the judge says, I want you to address the proposed conditions, meaning the bail conditions. And as we talked about, $50 million bail package, 24/7 home confinement, no internet use, no phone use, limited visitors, visitor logs. Prosecutor says there has to be some level of trust that the defendant will follow him. Here, he will not, meaning not follow the rules. He cannot be trusted. Consider his conduct in custody after the two judges' findings, meaning there were two previous judges, Judge Carter, Judge Tanofsky, who both decided that Sean Combs was not entitled to pretrial release, not entitled to bail. What do you think about that?
Correct. Yeah, that's a really fair point. The two prior judges have denied and said he's not allowed on bail. So when you have those two decisions against you, I think most defendants would say, okay, I need to be extra cautious, make sure I'm following all the rules. I'm not incurring any potential legal troubles moving down the line. There's allegations that, he has contacted parties through third parties. He's made phone calls. So I think there's a substantial amount of information there to show that there is possibility that he could try to tamper with witnesses or obstruct certain evidence.
Nima, one of the arguments put forward by the prosecution was if he is able, if you take the allegations as true, he's able to use other inmates' PAC numbers to make essentially calls to people that are not listed on his contact list. If he's able to use three-way phone calls from jail to have improper communications, what the prosecution says, is there any belief that he wouldn't manipulate a private security team that's supposed to watch him?
Of course, that's working for him as well. And like you said, that's an absolute rule violation. Can't use another inmate's PAC number, can't make three-way calls. And apparently he's doing all this. And when he was out, he contacted a witness dozens of times. So this is all evidence of obstruction. If I'm the government, what I do is I supersede, I add those obstruction charges, not necessarily because I think that's going to add additional time, but I think that's going to be helpful evidence for the jury to hear at trial that Diddy is trying to dissuade these witnesses. That's going to bring all that evidence in.
To show that he's guilty. Why would he be obstructing unless, of course, he thought he couldn't win this on the merits? He's trying to actually obstruct the case, influence witnesses because he knows he's guilty of that. That would be the argument. Elizabeth, we have another update from court. The prosecutor says his attorneys are enabling his flouting of the Bureau of Prisons rules. Consider the labeling of the pads after the fact, meaning they marked it legal after the fact. That's interesting. Even family members, and I said that the idea would be that he's enlisting his family members to create social media campaigns, reach out to people. The judge says, what's your response if Mr. Combs says, even if they don't trust me, there'd be 24/7 security? Prosecutor responds, if he can't comply in a custodial setting, he will not comply if released. What type of security firm? They suggested a co-conspirator, one whose phone was taken only the day before. Didn't know that. That's who the potential security firm is. The second suggestion was a defense investigator in this case. And the prosecutor goes on to say that investigator has been out contacting witnesses. Essentially, they work for him. This would be the defendant buying his way out. The judge.
This is the difference between Diddy and the CEO of Abercrombie & Fitch. It's not a black thing. It's not a white thing. Diddy is contacting witnesses. He got private investigators. He got security contacting people. He's using other people's phone. Diddy's wilding out. That's why Diddy is in jail right now. Well, obviously, we know what he's in jail for. Them freak offs. They done took him on the wrong path. But this is why they're trying not to let him out compared to the Abercrombie & Fitch CEO. He was doing what he was doing, but other than that, he's not using other people's PAC numbers to call people. He doesn't hire private investigators. It's all over like TikTok. People are showing up asking him, hey, you're talking about Diddy. I wish one of them niggas would show up to ask me, hey, man, you been covering Diddy. Hey, man, you'll get the fuck out of my face, nigga. I don't give a fuck what y'all niggas talking about, nigga. Fuck Diddy. You know what I mean?
Judge said, be fair that Sean Combs has the resources and the wealth to turn his home into a private prison, and he should be out waiting trial on sex trafficking and racketeering charges when somebody with lesser means wouldn't be able to do that, and they don't get bail. Now, the defense says, wait a second. The only reason we're proposing such an expansive and expensive bail package like this is because of the very problems, the very concerns that the prosecution has. You say it's his wealth that's a concern. Well, we're going to show you, we're going to create such a package that alleviates any of those concerns. The reason it looks like this, and it's so expansive and includes 24/7 monitoring and all this, is because of what the prosecution said. You can't have a sword and a shield at the same time. You say he's wealthy. You say he has the resources to flee, to do what he wants. Well, we're going to use that to try to negate those concerns. Where do you stand with that, Nima?
Well, it's not a flight issue.
Hey, support the channel. This channel isn't monetized right now. We got to reapply back in February, but by then we should be 1,000. Cash apps in the chat if you want to help your boy get YouTube Premium. If you want to help. If you don't want to, just hit the like button. But if you like to, you know what I'm saying, help your boy, help your boy, help your boy, help your boy, help your boy.
This is what just happened. And by the way, I really, from a legal point of view, I really am respecting Judge Subramanian. He's challenging both sides appropriately here. This is what he says, Elizabeth, the AUSA, Slavic, the prosecutor says, we're not seeking his continued detention based on his wealth, but rather danger, risk of flight, and obstruction. The judge says, is obstruction your main argument? The prosecutor says, danger to others. So the judge says, so not risk of flight? And the prosecutor says, we still rely on that too. What'd you make of that?
I think it's important that they don't forfeit any of the arguments. And I think they're all equally important. I do think I'm glad that they've highlighted the danger issue. Again, so much of this comes back to that video of him and Cassie Ventura. He has assaulted her on that video. He later admitted to that. So that's something that prosecution can point to and say, look, there's a possibility that could happen to other people as well. It's right here in black and white on video. So I think that's one of the more strong arguments. But I think it's important that the prosecution doesn't forfeit any of the other arguments, including obstruction of justice, so that they can put on a fair trial.
Nima, that risk of flight is interesting because the prosecutors say he's facing 15 years to life in prison on these charges. He has a lot of incentive to flee. His response would be, first of all, my family, my livelihood is here. I'm not going to flee the country. I've been trying to sell my plane. I gave up my passport.
Let me tell y'all something. My family is in the States. My livelihood is in the States. But if I'm on the run, fortunately for me, I'm not on the run, guys. I did an FBI check and everything. I'm legitimate. You understand? I showed you guys my FBI background, what I did have on there still. But, man, listen. My family can always come and visit me, but if I got to get on the run, I'm gone, man. I'm gone. Like it's nothing for me to leave everything behind and just go start fresh. I mean, you know, I make it happen one way or another. But yeah, Diddy told me I ain't gonna go nowhere. Yeah, okay. Then why you calling all these witnesses? Just wait for your your time in court. What you need a bail for? Just wait your time in court. You know what I'm saying? You here? Be a man. Sit in there, Diddy. You be all right.
I could have, or risk of flight or danger. You don't need all three.
Generally, it's going to be danger or risk of flight, but the obstruction is important as well. So the standard is under federal law that detention is appropriate if there's no condition or combination of conditions that can guarantee the defendant's appearance at trial, and he or she is either a risk of flight or a danger to the community. Now, obstruction can come in as well, but it's typically danger.
Elizabeth, we have another update from court talking about obstruction. The judge says, tell me about obstruction. Is he listening to Law and Crime? Is there like somebody, does he have a microphone here or something? Tell me about obstruction. So he asks, he says, tell me about obstruction, prosecutor. Prosecutor Slavic says, he's continuing violation of the rules, meaning as we talked about what's happening or allegedly happening in jail. The judge says, is running a PR campaign obstruction? Meaning the social media posts. The prosecutor says that's not what we have here. Rather, it's his concerted effort to impact the integrity of these proceedings. Prosecutor says, he says, I want to reach the jurors. I need only one. Ah, so that's so interesting. That's the first time that we actually maybe heard, they said they would have evidence to prove that this social media campaign was about influencing the jury. So he allegedly, there's some communication from Sean Combs where he talks about, I only need one, meaning only need to convince one juror. The judge says he's not permitted to engage in any he's not permitted to engage in any conduct to impact the jury pool. That's what the judge is asking. Prosecutor says his intent, it's obstructive conduct. He's violated the so-called gag order. He's the one who asked for that order.
Right. I think the social media argument is a bit of a tough one to make. Again, as we've noted, he's a massive public figure. People have continued to post on social media about this, people in his family and his friends. So I think that's a bit of a reach. But I think it's important that the prosecution highlights, again, any sort of evidence where he specifically states, I'm trying to target potential jurors here. He might have said that with social media, a little bit tougher. But I think the stronger points lie in if there's any sort of evidence that says he's trying to potentially contact witnesses through third parties to.
So what they're talking about, the little campaign that he's doing with the family, that's this here, which is, you know, kind of weird. Like, hey man, your dad's on there. Like, I don't know. So I'll show you guys this, what they're talking about, little happy birthday shit that they were doing with the baby.
All right, sing happy birthday, Daddy.
Happy birthday to Daddy. Happy birthday.
We love you too. Love you, Pops.
I can't wait to see y'all.
Yeah.
Can't wait to see y'all.
Yes,
And I just want to say I'm proud of y'all, especially the girls. I mean, all of y'all, but just for being strong. Thank y'all for being strong, and thank y'all for being by my side and supporting me. I love y'all. I got the best family in the world. My birthday, I'm happy. Thanks to y'all.
You ain't happy, dude. If you happy, then just sit in there, man. Stay off the phones, man. What you talking about? I just need one. So that's what they're talking about. They're trying to persuade the jury. But come on, man. Even seeing this is like, okay, happy birthday. Cool. The kids are always going to love their father. Nigga, we seen the tape and we about to see the evidence. What up, what up, Kendall? Like, this right here isn't changing anything. If you were, let's be real, if you were the juror, that one juror that they need, and you've seen this before you were selected for jury duty, and they brought you in, but they presented the evidence that we know about, like they show you the Cassie video, and then they show you some freak off stuff. They show you some of the tapes they got. Is this right here persuading you to say, you know what? Maybe Diddy is just a nice guy, and it was just a, you know what I'm saying, it's a misunderstanding. This right here isn't changing anything for me. Okay, happy birthday, nigga, but we know what you did. You still a monster. It doesn't change anything, in my opinion.
Age. We're talking about the idea that he's not charged with sex trafficking. There was not these repeated patterns of violence like they allege with Sean Combs. And so, again, now it seems like they're getting into that issue, which I think is going to be really, really important. Again, just for our viewers turning in, Elizabeth, you see that the case of Mike Jeffries, who has been arrested and charged with sex trafficking of young men using force, fraud, and coercion. That is a slightly different case because he was granted $10 million bail. He was arrested after Sean Combs was arrested. But that is a different case that you think prosecutors might have a struggle with.
That's right. I think there's some overlap. Again, it's involving massive public figures, it's involving trafficking charges, but I think there's a big difference, you know, in terms of the racketeering charges, the amount of civil lawsuits. Again, they're alleged civil lawsuits, but against Sean Combs, there's currently over 100 similar charges. I haven't seen anything similar to that extent of Jeffries. And also, again, it keeps coming back to that video. There hasn't been any form of video evidence, at least that we've seen in the
Cassandra
public
Ventura.
domain. Correct. Yeah, with the Jeffries case that specifically highlights what a danger he could possibly be to the public. Again, at least that we know of yet.
So we're going to go back to more questions that we have from our YouTubers. So if anybody has a question about the case or the hearing, make sure to submit it. Nima, we have a question. This is from Sean D. Cole. Sean D. Cole, so active. Thank you so much. Does the defense argument for bail convince you that he should be granted bail, Nima?
Sean, absolutely not. Sean Diddy Combs should not be released. He is a danger to the community. The allegations are very serious. He probably will be convicted and will spend decades in federal prison. This is a very serious case with a lot of victims. He should not be released.
Here's the thing, and by the way, you'll see this anytime you hear appellate arguments, or even if you hear general arguments in a court of law, the judge will ask pointed questions from each side when he's questioning them, okay? So I want to be clear, even though you're seeing tough questions for the prosecution, doesn't necessarily mean he's going to side with the defense and vice versa. Having said this, I'm going to read you the latest from court. The judge, the prosecutor, they're talking now about the 2016 video of Cassandra Ventura, or I believe that's what they're talking about. Because the prosecutor says, I think the better comparison is the 2 prior denials of bail here, but the judge said, what about the claim that the government spliced the video? Prosecutor said he apologized. That's the point. Remember, Sean Combs apologized on Instagram 2 days after CNN published that video of him purportedly beating Cassandra Ventura back in 2016. The judge said, why did you use the splice video, not the original? And the prosecutor said it was public. So it makes me wonder, is he open to the argument that there's more context to that video, as the defense says?
Possibly. To me, it sounds like the judge is asking a bit more open-ended questions to get all the information that he can to properly render a decision about this bail hearing. I think if there's any sort of indication that that video of him and Cassandra Ventura in that hotel hallway was doctored in any way or edited, you still have the actual footage of him assaulting her. And again, as you mentioned, he didn't negate that. He didn't say, oh, this is AI or this is fake. He admitted to that. So I think what the defense team is trying to use is there's no indication that she tried to flee a freak off. I think one of the things his defense team called it was a sad glimpse in a consensual relationship, which I think is going to be their main theme in defending this case, is these were all consensual acts. So I think he's just trying to get information here. I think it's hard to negate the facts of that.
Yeah, I agree with what she's saying. The judge is just saying, hey, is there a reason why you used the splice one instead of the full thing? Now, they're probably going to say, hey, we're just trying to cut out all the dead moments, but they'll probably show the whole thing when it actually goes to trial. But yeah, the judge doesn't seem like he's biased. He just, okay, why did you use the splice version instead of the whole version? But, you know, the prosecutor said, hey, man, that was public. CNN released that. We didn't release that. CNN released that footage. So, I mean, unless they can get a connection and show that the feds actually gave it to CNN, yeah, it was like, hey, man, we didn't put that footage out. CNN did, and that's who's seen it. But like they said, Diddy also admitted, yeah, I did. I was just, you know, I was messed up. I was at my lowest. Never admit guilt to anything. Deny. You got to stand on something or go to jail for something. But yeah, I never admit to no guilt. Not if I know that it's potentially about to go to court. But see, he already paid, so he probably had to in the agreement that they had. Obviously, he can't mention her name. But yeah, he admitted to it, so that always going to look bad when you go into court.
The prosecutor says, does it matter if he threw a vase or the contents of a vase? He admitted to it and apologized for it. Of sex trafficking.
Yeah, I think that's important. I think that's going to be important for the prosecution to say, you know, she wasn't just fleeing for any reason. It was specifically to flee a freak off. Because again, one of the things that the defense is going to try to push is that they were in the middle of a consensual act. Regardless, I think you also have one of the things that was mentioned in the indictment was the multiple assaults that he allegedly inflicted upon women. This is clear evidence of that.
We have more questions from our YouTubers, the best YouTubers in the business. All right, Nima. This is a question from Sally on YouTube. Once Diddy finally goes to trial, how long do you think the full trial will last?
I think it's going to last about a month or so. I mean, the parties have given some estimates, about 3 weeks, I believe, for the prosecution and 1 week for the defense, if I recall correctly. That means I think the defense's case is entirely or mostly going to be based on the cross-examination of those witnesses. They're going to come after them very aggressively. Now, still pretty early to know who exactly the government's going to call. And that's important because you have individuals who have filed civil lawsuits. They're going to be cross-examined to say this isn't about criminal justice. This is about money. So I'm sure the government is going to want to put their very best witnesses and victims on the stand because we know that the defense is going to come after them and come after them very aggressively.
All right, we have another update from court.
Got
This is from
another
the
update.
prosecutor. This is devastating evidence for the trial. This is, again, the 2016 video. It shows why he cannot be released on bail. He is violent and is committed to covering up his crimes. The evidence against him continues to mount. We've learned of punching and kicking employees, partners. So, again, that danger element to the bail analysis. I do have a question, Nima, for you. This is from This is from Sean D. Kolb, again on YouTube. Any chance
I
for a
think
plea
March
deal? And is
2025.
there any chance the judge will accept it? I'll give my thoughts, but first your thoughts.
I don't think
I
so.
don't think there's much of a chance at all, because for there to be a deal, it has to be something that Diddy would accept. And
Right.
when you're talking about these types of crimes, I mean, the sentencing guidelines are through the roof. Now, maybe he'll get less than the decades in federal prison, I said, if and when he's convicted. But this is someone that doesn't want to be in bail for even the next several months until trial in May. He's not going to
May 2025.
voluntarily, give up his empire and concede this. By the way, let's go back and say why I don't think there's going to be a deal. Let's talk about Cassie Ventura, who demanded $30 million reportedly not to file a lawsuit when the statute of limitations was coming up in New York State, where Jesse and Elizabeth are right now. He only wanted to pay her $10 million. For $20 million, his whole life fell apart. Do you think this is someone that's going to admit to anything, plead guilty in court?
I agree with you. That seems to me the only thing. What happens if they say, we have evidence to charge your family with obstruction or other counts? We will not do that if you decide to plead guilty.
Well, family can be an absolute game changer. I'm going to be honest. As a former federal prosecutor, I put more than 1,000 people in prison, and oftentimes, people would plead to exonerate their family members. So I think that could be a potential game changer. But just as the current indictment is and state of the case with no other co-conspirators, I think Diddy's not going to take any deal.
And
I got to look at my family and tell them, all right, guys. They saying if I plead guilty or take a deal, it'll get you guys off of this. But they saying they got evidence against you. Y'all might only be getting like 5 years. Now, if I plead and take this deal, they talking about giving me 50. Look, if each one of y'all do 5 and I only got to do 15, we'll be all right. You know what I mean? The 3 of y'all do 5, 5, 5, that's 15, and I do 15, we'll be all right. I can't do 50. I can't do 50. Y'all just do y'all 5. Y'all come home in 3, 3.5. And then I come home in 12. You know what I mean? Like that's y'all split 15 between the 3 of y'all. Whoever's the toughest, you get the most time. We can do a full 5 for you, and then like 4 and 3 for the other 2. And then I'll just do 12 of that 15. Cause come on, guys, I can't do 50 to life. So tell me, how did I get life? Yeah, if they got evidence on y'all might as well do y'all time too. I do some time also. And then we all get out. You know what I mean?
be clear, there's no evidence, well, other than some of the assertions.
Yeah, but I'm saying we're in the situation right now, though. Like where we're at right now. Of course, obviously, we know don't do the crime because none of us are trying to do no time. But I'm saying right now, listen, y'all 3 do 5 apiece, 4 years tops. I do 15-ish, but I do maybe like 13. And then we all come home. We be happy family. I'll be home by 2050. Y'all, you know what I mean? I'll be home by 2040.
That they're putting forward in these letters. Will there be cameras for the trial at least? Nope, nope, and nope. Very disappointing. No cameras in federal courthouses, let alone in New York, except maybe in exceptional circumstances. But no, there's going to be no cameras in the trial. That's why we're doing our best right now to give you a sense of what's happening in that courthouse, providing you live updates. And of course, Elizabeth Milner from Law and Crime in that courtroom. She will come out to us later and explain what she saw and heard. We have another update from court. The Judge Subramanian, says, what about the 2018 text messages with victim 1 about violence? And we believe that victim 1 is possibly Cassandra Ventura. Combs' lawyer, Mark Agnifilo, responds, we have gathered more information about victim 1 even yesterday. I don't want to quote it because it's under seal and should be. It was consensual. Okay. So going back to what I mentioned before, Nima, what's today? The 22nd. They filed this yesterday, the 21st. I, again, think that the defense's letter to the judge about this 20-minute video under seal. So what are they trying to say? That everything that happened between him and, if we presume victim 1 is Cassandra Ventura, was consensual, and therefore that could not be used by the prosecution as evidence that he is a danger to the public?
Jesse, victim one does appear to be Cassie Ventura, and I want to raise an important point that just happened there in court. And something what defense lawyers do, they have to advocate for their clients, but I think it's shameful. You saw that Agnifilo didn't defend Diddy when it came to violence against a woman, so they put a female defense lawyer to do that. So that's pretty common in these types of cases. That's why Shapiro started speaking. But we're talking about text messages from Cassie to Diddy, and again, going back to her lawsuit, and I believe her, she said that she was forced to have sex with male prostitutes while Diddy watched, videotaped, and masturbated. So I believe what she's saying, and there's text messages that corroborate her accounts of what happened. She has said to Diddy that I'm a human being, I'm someone's daughter, you beat me, you kicked me. That's all in text messages, and I don't think the defense can deny that.
Oh yeah, that was provided by the prosecution as examples of what was happening, and then also he allegedly threatened to. This is what the prosecution says. Exposed videos of the freak-offs if she didn't do what he wanted. Now, you're hearing the response from the defense. I've got a question from Ashley Glass on YouTube. Will the Law and Crime Channel be covering the case when and if it happens next year? We will do our best, given the circumstances of no cameras in that courtroom. So again, Elizabeth, this is a really interesting back and forth. Is there a possibility the judge will not make a decision today, or after hearing the arguments from both sides, in briefs and today, I mean, it seems probably more likely than not we are going to get a decision on Diddy's bail.
I'd be really surprised if there wasn't a decision. I believe the two prior judges were able to make their decisions pretty quickly. And again, this is a case where time is of the essence. I think both prosecution and defense are going to want to push for a decision quickly for their own reasons. So I'd be very.
Does Cassie have family she keeps in touch with, like her mom? Well, remember when she was with Diddy, she wasn't allowed to talk to her parents. He kept her away from that, and he paid for everything. So I think she talks to her family now. I don't know if she has any siblings, but I'm pretty sure she talks to her family now because they said that she was with them when the settlement happened. Them and her husband. I don't know. I mean, because they're saying they got the text messages. I wonder did they have a phone from Cassie? Did she keep those, or did they go get the records from like the phone company or something? You know what I mean? Think is what 2000. Well, that was what 17. Well, 16. Well, I got my old phones too, but I don't really keep text messages. After a while, if I don't talk to you for maybe a week, I delete the whole thread. I don't really care to go back and look at old messages. I mean, I don't know how. Because they're using her case to put this in here, but I'm sure they got to have other. Well, we got 100 and something victims, and then the lawyer for all of these other victims, he just got hit with an essay. Also, so it's wild. This Diddy thing is going to be going on for. They said that the trial's only going to take like a month, and that's supposed to be in May. So May, June-ish, yeah. Like if it starts early May, a little bit after Memorial Day. Going into early June. So probably by Juneteenth, we'll probably know if Diddy's going to be free on the iconic day or Diddy's going to be locked up. And it won't be give us free. It's going to be lock up shine. I don't know. We're going to see. Well, right now, we're really just waiting on the court because this is a federal case. There's no cameras in there. So we just got to wait on them to relay stuff. Send a text message out. Hey, here we go. We got this. We got this.
Saying this is too much of a risk, we can't let this person out on bail. And if the judge takes a chance and says, let's try home confinement, and then that happens, I think that would be devastating. And that would also really affect the potential outcome of the trial. Again, a big part of the indictment focused on the element of control and power that he had. So if Diddy is able to exert that same level of control and power over witnesses to try to block potential testimony, that could be devastating for the case.
By the way, tell me if I'm totally crazy here, Nima, but his team was pushing for a trial to happen as soon as possible, presumably because he doesn't want to be, in jail for the next 2 or 3 years. Risk it, go to trial. They might think they have a good defense, but if he's granted bail today, are we going to see a motion tomorrow, Monday? Let's postpone the trial. Hey, I'd like to be on home confinement for as long as possible before going to trial. Am I crazy to think that, Nima?
You're not crazy at all, Jesse. And I think the major motivating factor to push this case to trial so quickly is the fact that Diddy is in custody. And frankly, one of the reasons that people on the defense bar, they don't like their clients being in custody is not just preparing for trial, but oftentimes defendants will want to plead just to get the whole.
Diddy trying to get home for Thanksgiving, man. I hear they got dudes fighting over making up his bed. You know, I watched Crawls on Sunday. What movie is that from?
But the defense is not necessarily denying that he's had communications, but they're saying you have to read what these communications are, because they just said, Sean Combs' lawyer, Ms. Shapiro, in the LaFontaine case from 2000, the defendant told someone to lie by phone from the MCC. This was another federal prison. This is actually where Jeffrey Epstein died. But it says, in the Gotti case from 1996, the head of the Gambino crime family, the witness received a kick in the ass. The government does not have that here. So they're trying to distinguish maybe what Sean Combs said. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, that's what the defense is going to try to push. They're going to say, you know, he's entitled to work on his defense while he's in prison. There was no sort of attempt to obstruct justice or try to sway people. Obviously, that's what they're going to claim. I think it all depends on what's in those notes, which we're not going to know about for weeks on end, and what evidence the prosecution has in terms of what did he say. You know, they're saying that they have intercepted recorded calls of him trying to instruct witnesses about what to say. So, you know, I think it's a tough one.
All right, Nima, I want to get another question from you before I have to sign both of you off. We have two new guests that are coming in a minute. I will take a quick break, but before we do, Nima, this is a question from IVD on YouTube. What is the prosecution's counter argument against it being consensual behavior?
Well, it's going to be the testimony of the witnesses, right? They got to show that force, fraud, or coercion. That's what separates consensual sexual activity between adults. It can be as freaky as the participants want, as long as it's consensual. So they need the testimony of the witnesses. But also, let's not forget, there's a lot of video evidence here, right? Diddy recorded these videos allegedly for his own sexual gratification, but also to maintain control over the victims. But I really think the game changer in this case, Jesse, is if there's a superseding indictment alleging the sex trafficking of minors. That takes consent out the window.
That changes the whole game. All right, so we're going to take a break. We're going to continue covering these updates from what's happening in that courtroom. Sean Combs' bail day. We'll see if Judge Subramanian is more receptive to these arguments. Will he grant Sean Combs bail? We'll wait and see. But Elizabeth Vulai, Nima Rahmani, thank you both so much for coming on. Really appreciate it. I'm going to take a quick break. I'll be right back after this, and we're going to bring on Bradford Cohen and Brian McMonigal, celebrity attorneys, celebrities. We'll be back in a second.
All right, well, once again, we're just waiting. So you know what I've been thinking? Diddy ain't getting out. He's probably gonna go to jail for a couple of decades. But I was actually, today I was figuring when I got home, because I've been trying to finish The Gladiator, guys, and let me tell you, it is 2 hours and 20 minutes. The first hour is so slow. I done fell asleep on it 3 times. So I'm trying to watch that. I'll probably finish it tomorrow. I might watch it while I'm getting my hair washed and twisted tomorrow. But I've been trying to watch that. But what I wanted to do today was actually go on here and find a prestigious college and see if I can take like a couple of law classes. Maybe not too much to where I'm actually going to try to become an attorney, but just try to take a couple of law classes, you know, just to touch up. Maybe 500 here, maybe probably do like 3 classes, just not too much, just so I can have a better understanding of law. So I think I might actually do that now, what I'm looking at. Because I did get accepted to Berkeley. Now, I didn't finish in Berkeley, as I was in San Jose, but I'm thinking about maybe enrolling out there, you know what I'm saying? Berkeley Law, UC Berkeley. Yeah. So I might try to do that. I don't know. I don't know if I really have the patience or the determination for it, but let me find some other stuff. Diddy. I mean, it's the Gladiator 2. It seems good. It's just slow, man. It's just slow. It's just like, come on, man. For this to be 2 hours and 2.5 hours, like, Ali, come on, man. All right. So over on Vibe says Diddy allegedly has jail groupies fighting for the chance to make his bed. Now, this is a couple days ago, 3 days ago. Yeah, he like male groupies. Look at him. Sean Diddy Combs may have given up his lavish lifestyle while being detained at Brooklyn Metropolitan Detention Center, BMDC, but the mogul allegedly still has groupies willing to take care of his every need. According to the author and journalist Torre, the bad boy founder's presence at the notorious jail has led to inmates fighting over who can do special things. Special things? Yeah, all right. Including making his bed. According to someone who was in the unit that Diddy is in, not long ago, there are groupies among the inmates who want to do special things for Diddy and might even get jealous for another man who gets to make his bed or do other special nice things for Diddy. Man, I'm sure Diddy's having the time of his life in there. According to someone who was in that unit with Diddy, okay, we read that. He then shares info detailed by reporter Lisa Evers, saying Diddy is not in a traditional jail cell, but in a dorm along with 20 other men with high-profile cases. This is not a dangerous part of the prison, the insider reportedly told Evans, adding, everyone's chilling. Oh, Diddy, man, you be all right. Everyone's chilling in here. The insider also claimed that Diddy tries to keep vibes positive, often looking inmates in the eye and telling them to smile more. Check out the clip. Nigga, if you don't get the fuck out my face, nigga, talking about smile more. That's what you were telling them at them freak offs. Smile more before they went unconscious. Before you put baby oil on the floor and told them to run across it. Smile a little bit. Man, get out my face, Diddy. I ain't making up your bed, nigga.
Some of the men locked up with Diddy are fighting for the opportunity to make his bed? What? According to someone who was in the unit that Diddy is in not long ago, there are like groupies among the inmates who want to do special things for Diddy and might even get jealous of another man who gets to make his bed or do other special nice things for Diddy. Lisa Evers, a super respected longtime reporter, spoke to somebody who was in the prison with Diddy and told us what's going on. He says Diddy's not in a cell at all. He's in a dorm with about 20 men who have high-profile cases. According to the man, this is not a really dangerous part of the prison. He said, everyone's chilling. Apparently, it's very important to him that everyone in there keep their spirits up. He goes around to people and he says, smile. And he looks you right in the eye and tries to make you happy and make you smile.
First of all, when you hear niggas is chilling in prison, I don't want to be the guy to say it because, you know, someone get them guards in there. These niggas should not be chilling in prison. These niggas should be in prison. What you do in prison, man? I'm in prison, bro. It shouldn't be no chilling. There should be, hey, y'all need to be mopping these floors. Y'all need to be doing something with these tax dollars. Y'all need to be getting y'all ass work. Put them, hey, go put Diddy on the chain gang. Lock them up. Make them make license plates. Do something. Niggas should not be chilling in prison. Even if it is a detention center. They need to be detained. Detention. When I went to detention, in school suspension was actually pretty good. I think only white schools had the detention. I don't even know what detention is. Is it where you stay after school like 30 minutes? What is detention? Like, has anyone had detention before? I don't know. At my school, we didn't have no detention. It's either you suspended, OSS or ISS. I don't know what the hell. What detention is just like sitting. You just stay after school? That sounds like time out. You need to go to time. Detention. Nigga, you think I'm staying after school? I'm going home. Hey, you missed detention yesterday. What you gonna do about it? Give me another detention. Like, I've never been to no detention. Yeah, I know about Saturday school. Like, Saturday, I had to do Saturday school a lot, man. But Saturday school was cool because you had the girls, because in Saturday school started at 8 o'clock too. It was 8 to 11. You go to Saturday school, the girls, they volunteered to like help tutor and stuff. Oh yeah, Saturday school was cool. I missed a whole bunch of Saturday schools. Got suspended for them. Have I ever had a PS74? What the hell is a PS74? I don't know what that is. In addition to being treated like royalty, by jail standards anyway, Combs is being accused of attempting to obstruct justice from behind bars, with prosecutors alleging he has attempted to reach out to potential witnesses to influence public opinion on this case. The defendant has shown repeatedly, even while in custody, that he will flagrantly and repeatedly flout rules in order to improperly impact the outcome of his case. The defendant has shown, in other words, that he cannot be trusted to abide by the rules or conditions the legal document read. The defendant's efforts to obstruct the integrity of this proceeding also includes relentless effort to conduct potential witnesses, including victims of his abuse, who could provide powerful testimony against the prosecutors added. Diddy was arrested in September and charged with racketeering. All right, we got that. Yeah, so that's what's going on with Diddy right now. You know what I mean? I guess that was a Maryland thing, but it's basically a write-up. You didn't get no write-ups where, man, you didn't get no write-ups where I was at. I told you my high school almost lost accreditation. That's why I had my parents had to move, and we moved to the suburbs my junior and senior year so we could graduate with an actual diploma, and we didn't have to go get a GED. But yeah, wait a minute. Ain't Maryland Maryland's no child left behind, man. No disrespect to the people in Maryland. You know, I got a few people out in Baltimore. But yeah, no kid left behind. That was out in Baltimore. They were just passing. I gotta say it this way because this is how it was. Maryland was just passing them dumb niggas, man. Maryland, DC, they were just passing them dumb niggas. No child left behind. Oh, you at a second grade reading level, but you 13? Send his ass to the 10th grade. Yeah, Maryland, DC, y'all niggas is out there stupid. Not no disrespect, but I'm just saying, no child left behind was out. They didn't do that shit in the Midwest. Your dumb ass was getting held back. You know how many niggas I know that graduated a year after us? I told y'all about my girl Chi-Chi, one of the baddest things. Now, you know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? She was a senior my freshman year, but she's supposed to graduate the year before. She had like a kid. She had to come back. But I don't know, man. You know, she's fucking with your boy. But yeah, they had that no child left behind shit out in Baltimore and DC and shit. You remember On the Wire? That's what they were talking about in Baltimore. Yeah, no child left behind means, hey, you ain't came to school but one time, send his ass to the next grade. They don't give a fuck. They don't give a fuck out there. But hey, shout out to Baltimore. I only been to Baltimore twice. And the one time I went out to Baltimore, I was with this woman, and we went down to the little I guess it's like downtown, like it's on the wire and stuff. But I didn't feel comfortable out there, you know what I'm saying? Being sold out there, and there's all them young niggas that I'm like looking around like, God damn, this is 2021, maybe 2020. Yeah, 2021, I want to say. Oh no, they were worse than Zeke. At least Zeke knew he had to tell what he knew. And out there, them niggas don't know nothing.
Be a healthy debate on why he should be released.
And Bradford, I want to give you an opportunity to respond to that as well. I do want to let you know there was another update where Ms. Garagos, who again is one of Sean Combs' attorneys, says, my client obeys me. For example, on victim 3, he stopped using ASAP and other phone lines. The messages with witness 1 were pre-arrest. He obeys us. He came to New York. In the Bureau of Prisons, when I tell him not to do something, he does it. So in other words, if you have concerns about him flouting the rules, he will listen to us. We'll tell him what to do. What do you think?
I think that's an argument that I've often made, and I think a lot of defense attorneys make in terms of that our clients will listen to us if we tell them what to do and what not to do. And in certain circumstances, you have clients that have not been in a situation like this before, where they're in custody, where they are getting a barrage of allegations against them. Some may have some basis of truth and some may not. And you've seen that over and over again in this case. There have been reports of different things that went on and different allegations against Sean Combs that they have then found out these are just rumors and they're not true. I think that it's not a bad thing when a PR company or even when a defendant takes it on himself to have family members talk about the good thing that he's done in the past and the charitable things that they've done in the past. When you have a case like this, where they are just every day, there's something that is coming out, something that is leaked by either the government or a party that's involved or someone that's interested in the case, where it is affecting, that could have affected a jury. I think that, that release of that Cassie tape, and I keep going back to that release of that Cassie tape, I think the tape was released because they knew that she was going to be somewhat blamed for the behavior that happened, that they would know that she would participate in these different things with different individuals, and they wanted to make sure that was cut off at the pass and essentially make her a victim and not a co-defendant. And I think that's why that tape was eventually leaked by whatever party that leaked that tape. A lot of not going back to that. No one's really discussed how that tape has come out, and I think it's an interesting thing. And especially when you have a judge that's interested in your story, and you have a prosecution that is interested in why he is making these, these PR moves on social media. I think it all comes back to that tape, and I think that's their strongest, quote unquote, strongest piece of evidence in terms of their star witness to say, hey, this guy's a bad guy. I do like the fact, and I will agree with Brian, that the fact that they're having a conversation, that the judge is engaging them, is always a good sign. Is it, the end all be all that he's going to grant him bond? I don't know. I think this is a tough hill to take. I think it's an uphill battle whenever you have an individual that's facing the type of time that they're facing and the type of allegations to get a bond. Certainly the bond package is pretty extensive. In my opinion, a $50 million bond is nothing to
action,
sneeze about.
And to go into that, about one of the areas where I think Judge Subramanian seems to be receptive. He actually told prosecutors early this week, be prepared to talk about this. It's coming up right now. And Brian, I'll ask you about this. So this Ms. Shapiro, who's Sean Combs' lawyer, says, I submit the charges in the Jeffries Abercrombie case are worse than here. They allege an international sex trafficking business. They were raped and forced to engage, and I'm not going to say, but in a certain kind of sex acts. And by the way, the argument here is, and this is what the Judge Subramanian said, is distinguish prosecution, why it is Sean Combs, after putting forward a bail package, as we said, $50 million, 24/7 private security firm, limited visitors.
There won't be no action to the trial. I mean, even when the trial happens, it's not going to be like any other trial. We'll get information after it goes out. We'll have to wait for little tidbits to be relayed. I thought when I did this, they had already been in there for a while. We probably got another 30, 40 minutes before they even come out or make the decision. And even at that, as he mentioned earlier, there might not even be a decision made. He might hear everything and he say, all right, we'll reconvene next week. Let me think about it. Let me go over some stuff or present some more evidence. Yeah, there's not going to be anything. I mean, even if he gets a bail, okay, he got a bail. He's still at home. We're still waiting on the actual trial, and that's in May. Unless there's just some bombshell evidence that drops. If we get another Cassie video, if one of these victims or somebody releases a freak off tape, or I won't necessarily say like a freak off tape, but maybe someone like passed out or showing him passing bottles or something, we're not going to get any, as Torian would say, like, we're not going to get any action. It's just going to be, oh, Diddy is having people make his bed. Diddy, You know what I'm saying? He's violating this and this. We're just going to be sitting around. Or if he gets house arrest, we'll just be waiting. We'll see. Well, he can't be on social media, use phones, use the internet. But I think it was Nakima that said put federal agents on him. Would you really want to be the babysitter of Diddy? Would you really want to be the one going to the house, sitting there? You do your 12 hours, then you got to come back in the morning. Hey, get off that phone, Diddy. What are you doing over there? Turn that internet off. He can't listen to no music. You know what I mean? I don't think they're gonna stick no agent with him or anything. It's not like the movies how we had Tasha sitting at the house and they got 2 U.S. Marshals just sitting outside, all clear here. You know what I mean? Because this house is so big, you have to follow him around. I don't think he's gonna get released. But you do the crime, man. I mean, we seen the tape. They obviously got some kind of evidence, or they wouldn't have came and picked him up. Yeah, I mean, you might have. Yeah, like take Tasha, for example. She's at the house. She just got 2 U.S. Marshals just standing outside. It's not like that in real life. They might have a car on the house, but you're not going to just have two federal agents just sitting out the house or sitting in the house with you. That's why they try to get you private security. They're not going to put the feds in there because whatever you do within your household is your privacy. So you can't have the feds in there because if they see you doing stuff. So that's why typically they allow you to do private security or third-party security. You know what I'm saying? Someone that's trustworthy. The courts might have to sign off. Okay, we approve of this security to be at your house. You know what I mean? But they're not going to put federal agents in there because that's basically violating your privacy. Because you are, it's innocent till guilty. But once they start holding you, it's kind of like guilty till proven innocent. But yeah, they're not about to just have 2 feds outside with guns outside. Hey, get back. It ain't going to be like that.
And once you've done discovery and things of that nature. But I don't find anything of that unusual. Magistrates are always common. You always go in front of a magistrate first, and those are usually randomly assigned. And then a judge is randomly assigned, and then another judge can take over at any time. It's not that big of a deal.
And by the way, I wish we had cameras in the courtroom, but based purely on the arguments that we're seeing and have seen with Judge Subramanian, I feel confident to say this feels like a very fair, well-reasoned judge. The way he was pressing the prosecution, the way he's been pressing the defense, it's really something to take note of. And that's kind of the judge that's exactly the kind of judge you want in these cases. There's a question that we have from Samian on YouTube. I'm curious, Jesse, why did the prosecutor not reference the R. Kelly trial? They might not have referenced it today, but it was in their filings. I think it was even in the very first bail filing. They referenced the R. Kelly case. They referenced the Jeffrey Epstein cases as why it was justified bail for Sean Combs. Here's another question. I'll throw this over to you, Brian, from Europes Hunar on YouTube. If Diddy gets out of bail, does that mean that he gets out immediately, like this hour?
It'll happen pretty quickly. He'll have to go back. Usually you have to go back to the detention center that you're being housed in. There's some paperwork that has to be done, but I would think it would happen pretty quickly. It would be tonight. Unless there's some other snafu that occurs in trying to get it done. But for a high-profile case like this, they'll move quickly on it. All the eyes of the world are watching it. I think it'll happen pretty quickly. It'll certainly happen, I think, sometime tonight, if he rules tonight. I mean, that's, some judges recognizing that there could be an appeal of this ruling will take the time to issue a written opinion. And that would be the only reason I would think this judge would hesitate before ruling in this case. He seems, as you've described it, to be a really fair-minded and thoughtful guy. That is his reputation. And some of those judges that are more thoughtful and more fair-minded issue written opinions, which he may do in this case.
We have another update from court.
Oh, here we go.
Ms. Shapiro, again, defense counsel for Sean Combs. While in Jeffrey's case, one defendant is 80 and the other is 71, Mr. Combs is 55. I hate to say it. It's not that young, because that was one of the things the prosecution said. Like, you're dealing with an 80-year-old. Yeah, you're dealing with an 80-year-old. You're dealing with an 80-year-old. He's 55. You know, he's much younger. He's more of a danger. The judge says the U.S. suggests he won't follow conditions. Shapiro says these conditions are more restrictive than in the prison. Again, I kind of laid out what some of the conditions are. Bradford, your thoughts?
I think the argument that one guy's 80 and one guy's 55 is, if I was a judge, I think that would fall on deaf ears. The 80-year-old might be more willing to do something crazy because he's 80. You know, it's like he only has so much time left. Anytime you give an 80-year-old is going to be a life sentence. So if the guy gets 5 years and he's 85 years old, that's not that young. So it's, the argument itself is not great about the age. I think the stronger argument is maybe that in the RICO charges, they're charging some sort of violent behavior. That's probably a stronger argument, because the Abercrombie and Fitch CEO doesn't have a history of alleged violence or participation in violence. But the allegations of the sex trafficking are very, very, in my opinion, are worse for the CEO of Abercrombie and Fitch. And it's just, you know, it's funny that it just by happenstance, these cases happen together. If it didn't happen together, you'd have nothing to compare it to. You'd have to go back to a different sex trafficking case that someone didn't get bond. So it just so happened that this worked out for Sean Combs, where the Eastern District comes to an agreement on the CEO of Abercrombie and Fitch, and it works in his favor. I think that you have to lean very heavily on this guy. Could make a run for it at any time, right? It's not just that he's a danger, it's also that he's a flight risk, they were arguing. He could have made a run for it at any time. He has jets. He could have gone to Mexico. He could have gone anywhere, and he never did. He surrendered when he was supposed to surrender. In fact, they didn't even allow him to surrender. They picked him up at night at a hotel when they knew that they could have called him and he would have just surrendered in the morning. I think that it goes to show a lot of bias, obviously, on behalf of the U.S. Attorney's Office. And I think a judge like this judge, who used to be a clerk for really, really good judges and was in the commercial business world.
All right, man. Basically, what these lawyers right here talking to, these are celebrity lawyers, and they're basically like, look, we know how shit like this goes. This is what we do. So, hey, if y'all need a celebrity lawyer, you get into some shit. Look, we know what we talking about. Come and hit us up. But I guess I'll probably make a short video of this tomorrow. But this is boring, man. We're hearing the same stuff we already heard. We get little updates. One guy was 80 years old, Diddy's 55. Like, all right, man, we're gonna go ahead and get on out of here. I thought this was gonna be a little streamlined process. We go in there and say what we gotta say. Judge says, we give him bail. We not giving him bail. I guess we'll follow up on it. But make sure you subscribe to the channel. I'll be on my other channel tonight at midnight my time. So 12 p.m. Eastern, we got the Pop the Balloon. Hit the like button, hit that subscribe button, support the channel. Discord is pinned in the chat. Cash App is pinned in the chat also. I'm Mo J. I'm going to go ahead and get on out of here, grab me something to eat, and, keep him pushing. Thanks for watching. I'm out, man.